All right, let's talk. The Steelers still expected to make one more possible splash trade here. I would anticipate before the NFL draft, maybe. According to The Athletic, NFL executives around the league believe that the Steelers could be shopping James Daniels, and their reasoning behind it is they've put a lot of attention into interior draft class offensive linemen. They've signed 2 guards already, so it doesn't really, I guess, make sense when you try to connect the dots of why they aren't looking at left tackles the way that they're looking at guys like Osiris Torrance or John Michael Schmitz or whoever. Do you follow the logic? Did you read this and say, oh, yeah, that makes sense? Or did you put the smile that you have on now and say, what are we talking about here, people? It's James Daniels.
It really is crazy. It really is crazy that this thing is like generating steam.
Steam.
I'm very baffled, and it's like it's not just from one source anymore. It's from multiple sources. Like I don't know how this thing is like grown legs, I guess is my question. But I thought James Daniels was definitely their best offensive lineman last season. I don't even think he allowed a sack all year long. I don't now. Do I think Daniels is this like superstar kind of elite player? Like I absolutely don't. But I do think he's just a good quality offensive lineman. And we're talking about a good quality offensive lineman on a team that over the past 3+ seasons has not had very many quality offensive linemen. So the fact that we're even talking about, potentially like replacing this guy, trading this guy, whatever, is kind of just baffling to me. As much as I am intrigued by some of the guys that, obviously we've talked about Isaac Seumalo, we talked about Nate Herbig, but and I like those guys. I even like several of the guys that they've been connected with, for pre-draft visits or, formal combine visits. We talked on the draft show yesterday about Osiris Torrance and Steve Avila, both guys that I'm like pretty big fans of, especially Avila. So, but I don't see a world where we should be, trying to create holes. And that's basically what you're doing with trading James Daniels. You're just creating another need, and they already have other needs that need to be addressed.
Yeah, it does. I look at it too, like James Daniels is 25 years old. The big talk of the town was how he came in here and he was an immediate veteran and he
He's
added
like
the leadership.
Tremaine Edmonds. Like he's the same thing where it's like, oh yeah, he's only 24.
Yeah. Like he's super young. That was the big deal about it. Even with Mason Cole, like, and I get like 2 different players, but like everybody's like, well, you got to go young. Like the Steelers offensive line was insanely young last season. To take the best piece of that and say, that's who we're going to get rid of. I just to try and think like the Pittsburgh Steelers, you have to earn your stripes here in Pittsburgh. So even if a guy like Osiris Torrance comes in here or, whoever, don't you think it just makes a little bit more sense to say you're going to learn from Isaac Seumalo, who's 30 years old and has injury troubles, than to say, well, you're just going to replace James Daniels. And then we'll do the same thing again in 2 years if Nate Herbig isn't like this superstar. And we have to hope that you turn into James Daniels, which, is, like you said, a starting quality offense. It's not like James Daniels goes to 31 other teams and doesn't start. Like he starts on almost all of them. I just, the logic doesn't make sense there.
Yeah, I am curious, like on what the rationale is kind of behind all of the interior offensive line
Yeah,
visits and
I
stuff.
agree.
Like I mean, I do think it's intriguing, and I understand like at least this kind of like rumor or theory or narrative, like it has some sort of baseline because it does make you think like, all right, like the Steelers have signed 2 guards, one of which is definitely a starter. Like I
Yeah.
view Seumalo a little bit better / maybe like half a tier above Daniels as a player, but I think they're both like I said, good starting interior offensive linemen. So
Yeah.
like when they're showing this much interest in like top 30s and the pro day visits, whatever, you got to kind of think about like, all right, what's the game plan here? Like, what are we doing? I mean, and like another thing to point out, like with top 30 visits, you could be doing top 30 visits for a myriad of different reasons, right? Like it doesn't necessarily mean like because like teams and the Steelers have done this too, like even this cycle. Top 30 visits could be spent on priority free agents, like guys that you
Yeah.
just like
Charlie
you
Scott.
yeah, like I mean, you anybody that you're wanting to, get in the building just to get like a look at them, they can be spent on medical rechecks. They
Yep.
could be spent on guys that you're just wanting to get more information on their teammates. Like I mean, it could be a ton of different stuff, or just you want to get like a baseline on who this player could be, potential trade up, trade down scenarios. I mean, literally anything. So, I don't want to read too much and try to draw too many conclusions. The only thing I'll say is like with Daniels having that center versatility, it would just really shock me if like he was the odd man out kind of in this scenario. Like I think the more likely scenario, and this is the one that I think is going to happen, is I think on draft night or maybe like the week of, I think Kevin Dotson's going to get dealt for like
Yeah. Fifth
uh
rounder.
fifth, sixth round pick,
Yeah.
or where they get like a late fifth back and they send one of those seventh rounders that they got or something
Yep.
like that. Like some late day 3 pick or pick swap, I think is very possible. For Kevin Dotson, just because, like I said, like if you're keeping James Daniels, which I assume they would want to, we think Mason Cole's going to be on the roster. We know Herbig and Sam Aller are going to be on the roster. Like you don't, Kevin Dotson isn't like I get if you have reservations about his consistency and him being a long-term starter in the NFL because of that lack of consistency, but he's not a fifth interior offensive lineman type player. Like
No.
he's at the very least, he's a quality backup, and quality backup offensive linemen go for day 3 picks because we don't have enough quality offensive linemen in the league.
Yep.
So,
Yep. I agree. Do you see that possibly? So you talk the center guard versatility. That's the other, they're still bringing in centers, but that's the other theory that I think fans have at least is moving James Daniels to center, getting another guard.
yeah, I know. So I watched 2 games of him at center when he was in Chicago.
Yeah.
One of those games was against the Rams. I can't remember what year that was, but I remember being pretty impressed with him at center. But I don't know, like there was a lot of debate on like what his best position was, and because Chicago moved him around so much, it was like opinions on that were all over the place, and
Yeah.
like if you follow me on Twitter, y'all know like how I hate this stuff. To be honest with you, I think versatility. I'm going on a little rant. I think versatility sometimes can be a bad thing for players. Like can be a
Oh
bad thing
yeah.
for young players because what happens is when you have the ability and you show the ability to come in and play multiple positions at one time, coaching staffs kind of just put you in there like whatever they need you that moment, which kind of sometimes can stunt their development. Like I look back on a guy like Sean Davis, who you can say what you want about him as a prospect or whatever, but like I don't think the Steelers did him any favors because like when he came in as a rookie, they were playing him as slot corner.
Yep.
He played outside corner at Maryland. The very next year, he comes in, he plays slot corner with the Steelers.
Yep.
Preseason. So then they move him back to play box safety. So
Yep.
then he's playing box safety. And then the year after that, he's playing free safety.
Yep.
Like if you're learning a new position every single offseason, like how are you supposed to master anything? And
Yep.
like you got to understand like all the different responsibilities, all the different calls, especially like players like that. Like it's just a lot to put on their plate. So a guy like Daniels, who was playing 3 different spots, throughout his time in Chicago during his rookie contract, it's both a blessing and a curse sometimes. But I know Duke Merriweather, he was saying like when the Steelers signed Daniels last year that they should play him as center. So I mean, he
Oh,
knows
was he
more.
really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he knows more about offensive line play
Yeah.
than I'll ever know. So
Yeah.
that's an interesting opinion. If you guys want to go back and look at that, I'm pretty sure I'll see if I can find that tweet, but I'm
No,
pretty sure that he said that he thought that the Steelers should play him at center.
that makes a lot of sense. Like I was surprised that this conversation didn't get brought up last year. I guess it did for like that short time period, a couple of days before they signed Mason Cole, but
Mm-hmm.
It is like it. If they're gonna do anything, I think that moving James Daniels to center makes way more sense than trading him. Because
Oh,
what are you gonna
absolutely, yeah,
like? What are you gonna get for
100%.
James Daniels? You're gonna get a third round pick for James Daniels, like maybe a second if you're lucky. You're not getting a James Daniels in the second round. I mean, maybe you are, but you're gonna take that's a huge risk. It's a huge risk for a guy that's already developed. But at the same time, I thought Mason Cole played fine. I think it's just their approach. Like I think the Steelers, and this kind of goes to your point of moving guys around too much, maybe. I think the Steelers see that their offensive line was good last year, but it isn't where they want it to be. But if you wait another year, and that's the thing with Mason Cole and like bringing in all these centers, is people say, oh, well, Mason Cole only has one more year on his contract. Well, if you wait another year and then you move James Daniels to center, then you're just screwing everything up. And there's no need to, like if you won't move Chooks to the left side and Dan Moore to the right side a year in, why would you move James Daniels 2 years in? Like it just doesn't
Yeah,
follow the trend of everything that they've done. Like it just doesn't, everything doesn't add up for them. It is. It's. I think that's the most confusing thing they've done so far is spend almost. I don't want to say no, but very little time on the entire group of left tackles and a ton of time on those first early second round interior offensive linemen to the point where you're just like, okay, well that's where they're going to go, but like why? Like what's the because it's not like you're going to come in here like is Osiris Torrance going to come in here and play over Nate Herbig as a backup, and then what was the point in signing Nate Herbig? Like to just get rid of him to have him compete for a roster spot and possibly get cut or be inactive during game days. I don't know. Doesn't make a it doesn't make a whole ton of sense. What do you think Mason Cole's value would be in a trade?
I hadn't really thought about that. I'm assuming probably somewhere. I mean, day 3 pick. I
Yeah,
would
it's got to be
guess.
day 3, but
Yeah,
it's worth something. Come draft night, you can get a
yeah. I
fifth,
mean, it's
sixth
worth
rounder for
something.
him.
Yeah, I was able to find that tweet too. It said, "This is from March of 22." He said, "You play Daniels at center, move Green to guard." So this is Kendrick Green. So
Yeah,
obviously not
yeah, yeah, yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah.
And then you move Kevin Dotson to right guard because that was all 3 of their natural positions. You have an athletic and nasty interior offensive lineman. I see a tweet in here, a reply from Brandon Thorne saying that that's a good idea. So again,
No,
Brandon,
another
like
big name.
literally the goat of offensive line play. And then Brett Coleman talking about I remember watching Daniels play center at Iowa, and he was reaching 3 techniques without even breaking a sweat. So yeah, I mean,
Maybe it makes sense.
I don't know. It's definitely something to look into. I think I'm gonna definitely go
Yeah,
watch some
some
tape
James
on that.
Daniels at center right
Yeah,
now.
I'm
I
gonna
feel
try
like
to
you
see
have
if I
to.
can find some Iowa tape from 2016.
Maybe that's the
So
way. Maybe that's the way they're going. We just don't know. Maybe
I
I
don't
like
know.
Mason Cole a lot. Like I just, as a person, I very much so enjoyed Mason Cole this season. So there's a part of me that's like, please don't get rid of
Right.
Mason Cole. But sometimes you have to remove that and just say, well, if we're connecting the dots everywhere else, the dots are screaming at us saying, well, they're bringing in interior offensive linemen and they love them. So I
Yep.
don't know.